Well, g'day guys, it's good to be in touch again this Friday afternoon, and hopefully you're doing well. Missing seeing all of your faces, but I've loved some different communication this week, back and forwards with some of you, and in particular just want to share a couple of things that I've received and enjoyed checking out. So firstly, a shout out to Ali. Thank you for sending through some of the work you've been doing. Have a look at this little before and after study renovation here. Looking spectacular, Ali. Well done. Love it. So Judy has been working on this egg carton poppy wreath for a bit of a front yard memorial for Anzac Day. How good's that? And Ray's been working in the garden, relocating some citrus trees. That looks like heavy work, Ray. Well done there. I thought you might like to know that we got back into the beep test, and it almost killed me, but I did get to level 12 this time. So nice to see a little bit of improvement there. Hopefully you are, keeping fit, cooking at home, doing some craft, doing some things to keep your mind challenged and stimulated if you've got a bit of extra time on your hands. And if you're one of our one of those who have stepped up to the plate even more in this season because you work at a supermarket or you work in some sort of medical service that's been under pressure, whatever it looks like, thank you to you as well. Well, today we're going to be kicking off a new little series. It's looking at this idea of Sabbath, and I won't take any more of your time because you've got a great message coming from Kate today. So sit back and enjoy that, and take the opportunity just to wrestle with some ideas that she's going to share, and I'm sure you'll leave feeling encouraged and challenged to take on board this spiritual practice, this discipline of rest.
Hey guys, so as you can see, I'm at church and none of you are here, and that really sucks. It's been hard for me, I don't know how it's been for you, but it's been hard for me to not be with each other on a Sunday and through the week as well. But this is the season that we're in, and so we'll take it and we'll find out what God wants us to learn, I guess. And something that I'm really excited to share with you is what God's been teaching me about Sabbath. So earlier in the year, kind of right at the start of the year, I was kind of setting some goals and thinking about, God, what do you want me to do this year, and what do you want it to look like for me and for our community? And this idea of Sabbath kept coming up. And so I said, all right, fine, I'll look into what that means. And it's just been this really beautiful journey of finding out more of who I am and who God is. I don't know about you, but this season has been crazy, and so I kind of, for me, at the start of it, I got really excited because I thought, okay, so if everything's going to close, all the shops, everything, people will be at home and they won't really be able to leave, and so we'll all just kind of enter this space of rest, and we won't be able to go to work, and we'll just be spending time with our families, with the people that we live with, and it will just be this wonderful time where the world gets to kind of stop and reset. But I've actually been really disappointed because it hasn't happened, has it? Most of the shops are still open. We had our first week back at school this week, so staff were all at school. We are still going out, we're still doing things, and even if we're not, the anxiety of the situation kind of keeps us from it as well. So this crazy period where I'm reminded that rest in God doesn't just accidentally happen. We rest just because we don't have things to do. It's not that really rejuvenating rest that God wants for us. We're going to start with a creation story. And so it starts in Genesis 1, where God's just spent 6 days creating this amazing earth that we live on. And it's beautiful and it's good. And then chapter 2 begins, so the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. On the seventh day, God had finished his work of creation. So he rested from all his work, and God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because it was a day when he rested from all his work of creation. The God of the universe, who has no limitations that we have, if he spent 6 days working and then rested, I wonder if we could too. I wonder if God was really just giving us an example of how we should live. When God leads his people out of Egypt, into the promised land in the book of Exodus, he gives Moses these 10 ways of living really well. So I'm going to give you these 10 guidelines of how how it's going to be a really good way for you to live. I'm the Lord your God. I rescued you from the land of Egypt, from a place of slavery. So don't have any other gods but me. And he says, don't make yourself any idols. Don't misuse my name. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. And then he goes on, honour your father and mother. Don't murder. Don't cheat on your spouse. Don't lie to people. Don't steal. Don't be jealous of your neighbour's stuff. And he gives us all these commandments. They're commands, and so they're not suggestions. They're not, this could be a good way, maybe try it out. This is how I want you to live, because I know that it will be good for your soul. He's the God who created us, right? So surely we can trust him to know what's good for our soul. I don't want you to murder, not because it's gross, or not because it's messy, but because I know what it will do to your soul. I don't want you to cheat on your spouse, not because it'll break up that bond, but because I know also what it will do to your soul. I don't want you to have any other idols and to worship things of this world, because I know what that will do for your soul. And he says, remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. I know what this will do for your soul. You have 6 days each week for ordinary work, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath day of rest. And Sabbath is Hebrew for stop. Just cease. It's a Sabbath day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God. So I want you to stop working, and I want you to dedicate that day to me. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and your daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them, but on the 7th day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the 7th day and set it apart as holy. I love that God says, no, I don't only want this Sabbath for you, but I want it for your kids as well. I want it for the animals. I want it for the earth. I want this rest for everybody. I created it all and I know what it needs. God knows what we need. Corrie ten Boom said, if the devil cannot make us bad, he will make us busy. So I wonder for you if busyness is something that marks this season in your life. I wonder if it marked the previous season. I wonder if it marked the season before that. When I was at uni, I might have told you guys this story before, but I recognised an old friend who was working at a coffee cart there, and we kind of caught up and I said, oh, you know, how are you? She said, yeah, busy, good. And she asked me how I was, and I thought about it and said, oh yeah, pretty good. She said, no, you're supposed to say busy. And that's kind of stayed with me, right? Like, I'm supposed to be busy. Like, that's the marker of our culture. If you're succeeding, you're busy. If you're doing it right, you're busy. But the mark of our culture is not what God wants for us. And that doesn't, I'm not saying he wants us to just be totally doing nothing. He says, I want you to work 6 days of the week. I want you to work. And then I want you to rest. So Sabbath for me has been an act of humility. It's saying, I know that there's a God and I know that he's not me. It's also saying, I'm more than what I can achieve. I'm more than what I produce. I'm a child of God, and that's what I can remember on the Sabbath. So it's been this image for me that each week and on the 6 days that I work, I hold an amount of responsibility. I hold the things that I feel God wants me to do. I hold the work that I do in my community. I hold the place that I hold in my family. I hold all these things. And on the 7th day, I get to give them back to God. And when I give them back, it means that I'm free to just be a kid. And so Sabbath for me looks a lot like playing, and a lot like just being silly and just relaxing. We return to God the responsibility that he's given us to hold for a time. So there's 2 things that I want you to take with you this week. The first one is that there's a difference between entertainment and rest. So I just want to encourage you to just think about how you spend the time that you relax. Think about how you spend that time that you've kind of got set apart. We just had school holidays, and so for me I had a week of just rest. And not every day felt like a day of rest. Sometimes I just filled it with distraction. Sometimes I just filled it with entertainment. And sometimes I really did rest. and I connected with God, and I found a deeper sense of peace and of purpose. So there's a difference between relaxation and that rest that will really give us new life. The second thing I want to just challenge you on, because I know that what I first thought when God challenged me with this whole idea of Sabbath was, I don't have time for that. But our time actually isn't our own, is it? God created the world and he created time. So he gives us time, and it's our responsibility to steward it. So can I just encourage you this week, as you start to think about this and start to reflect on it, just to be reminded that your time actually, it's not ours to govern, because I think when we try and do that, it begins to govern us. The alarm clock rips me out of bed in the morning, and I'm constantly checking my watch. I'm constantly saying, yep, I checked it for that. It governs me a lot through the day, time. There's this great app that I'd love for you to check out this week. It's given me so much life this year. It's called Pause, and it's been developed by John Eldridge. So it basically just takes you through 1 minute, where you just remember who you are and whose you are. And he kind of leads you through this 1 minute, just short devotion where you are just reminded a bit of perspective. I found it so helpful. It has transformed the way that I view my responsibility. It's transformed the way that I view other people. It's transformed the way that I view time. And it has transformed the way that I view rest. My prayer for you this week is that you will find some real rest. Jesus says in Matthew 11, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, let me teach you, because I'm humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Jesus came to give us life, and life to the full. I don't know if you're living life to the full or not, but I know that for me this year, I've been able to live a little more fully through the practice of Sabbath. So as we explore this the next few weeks, we're going to get a bit practical. So I just want you to prepare your hearts for that, to prepare your hearts to maybe change some things about how you do life, because God wants to give you rest. This command is an invitation to a beautiful gift from a loving Father.